What's up, everybody? Welcome. Red October is back, and so are we. I'm Dave. That's Mark, and we're here to talk Philly sports, all of them, 4 for 4, but more importantly, those Philadelphia Phillies and Philadelphia Eagles who are taking both leagues by storm. And I can't wait to break it down with my man, Marc Tomasini, as we get into this next, wherever long it goes, hour of Fourth and Go here on the Heat Radio Show Sports Network. So, Mark, what's up, brother? How you feeling?
What up? It's a winning run. I'm sorry. It's a winning Thursday. I gotta train. It's natural habit. Red wine for Red October.
I love some good red wine. I'm more of a cab guy. I like the drier style. You?
Yeah. Cab Sav?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Big Cab Sav guy over here.
Yeah, for a while, like the Malbecs and Merlots we're fine, but Cab Sav.
Way to go. You always got to go Cab Sav.
Yeah. Oh, this house trying to fight here. But dude, let's get right into it because I tell you the truth, this is there's a lot I want to talk about. There's a lot on the table here tonight. I got some progressive steps as we get here of things that I'd like you to kind of give your angle on. But let's just start with the foremost, and it was the pure domination of the Philadelphia Phillies over the Miami Marlins. Those who were scared, not scared anymore. I was not in the scared class. I know they're pesky and know they're tough, but this team is the most well-built team the Phillies have, I could almost say, ever had. Even in 08 when we won it, I mean, it was well-constructed, but not to the depth of the starters that this team has. Great bullpen, great hitting, one or two good starters. This team, I think, even has a little bit more. So that just pure domination, 4-1, 7-1, I thought was just a sign of we never have it. I don't want to say that easy, but we never just have it to a point where we put the foot down and roll with it. And that's what we did. Even last year, St. Louis was tough. Atlanta, I mean, yeah, we got on a little bit of roll. San Diego, we did too. But that just felt like the better team winning. What'd you think?
Well, I mean, just real quick, you bring up St. Louis. That's a great point. Like, we had to eke that first win out, you know, and if it's not for that ninth inning, none of what obviously the way that the playoffs shook out last year, and they got so much experience. That was so beneficial for last year to go the way that it did, where it's like you have confidence now. Like, if we only did that wild card round, it was like, okay, because really most of our mindsets were, you know, get in, maybe get a home playoff game if you're lucky, and whatever. They ran the table, they ran the gamut, and they almost got there. But you expect them to play the way that they're playing now. You expect them to do the right things. And it's really true. I do agree with you. Like, the most well-constructed team. Could our pitching be you got Wheeler, obviously, who's been dominant. That's never been a question. Nola, he did what we wanted him to do for a long time. He showed it, but you just still never know. Like, there was a point there, I want to say the fifth or sixth inning, where it got shaky again. He got 2 on, and he kind of had to be bailed out with double plays. I mean, you take it because he got the ball on the ground. I think like in the 5th and 6th or the 6th and 7th, however it went. Regardless, great outing by him. But I would love a little more on our pitching. But our lineup is
we let up 1 run each.
Yeah.
A fluke run. You want more?
No. I'm not saying from that. I'm saying like more depth. Like, here's the thing. You got Wheeler, who you know is great.
You're saying from the starters?
I'm talking about the other starters. Like,
okay, gotcha.
You get what I'm saying? I will take that Nola performance. I would take 75% of that Nola performance every night. Like, if he gives you 6 innings of 2-run ball, that's great. And he doesn't put you in, situations where you're about to lose it all. Great. But the thing is, what I'm saying is, need a little more from the back end starters. Like, we paid Taiwan a lot of money, who pitched well for all of like June and July, but then has kind of regressed a little bit. We're still not sure. I mean, I think we think that Ranger's going to be the guy on Saturday, but like, we don't have any definite, it's not definitive the rest of the way. Now, the good thing is the way that everything's aligned, we get to have Nola and Wheeler at least 3 of the games of that series. So it works out. So, I mean,
the only reason I hesitate and stop you for a second, I think we have the deepest pitching staff in the National League and the deepest starters. Arizona can only roll out 2, and Gallen and Kelly. The Braves, I'm Strider and a blistered up. Yeah, what's his name? Freed, and then what? Because it doesn't look like it'll be more.
Right.
Dodgers.
No, Morton's out. Right.
Yeah.
Kyle Wright, I think.
He's barely played. I mean, and Dodgers have Kershaw, who's 40, and Bobby Miller. Like I don't. I'm just saying. Like I get what you're saying.
Sure.
But I actually think it's a really deep pitching staff, even with the starters. Yeah,
maybe I'm greedy.
Yeah.
Because like you look at it, we got to see a time when there was, we had was it R2C2? Is that what we called it back then? The two Roys, Cliff and Cole.
Yep.
We lived in that time, and Blanton was a good fifth starter at that point. I'm just saying, like, but they haven't been able to sell out for all of hitting, or all of pitching. So,
Yeah. No, I got you, and I'm checking with Adam. Yeah, 11 more, but let me just give the next part. I went down game one. I made a game time decision. I said,
"Wow,
my son my son kept begging me, and then my one son decided he didn't want to go. I said, so that freed up a couple bucks, and I said, I might be able to pull this off. I needed to be in there, Mark. You went to a game last year, right?
I went to the World Series,
right? And it was the game they won, right?
No hitter.
The no hitter. That's right. But still,
my brother-in-law got me tickets. Took me. I was stoked out of my mind.
Yeah,
it didn't matter because that's all you could do is drink because they couldn't get anything going on offense.
Yeah, well, but what I wanted to point, like, I've been to every single Eagles playoff game. Seen them get to the Super Bowl. I've been to 2008 World Series clinchers. I've even been to 93 World Series.
Wow.
That night in that stadium on Monday was worth every penny I spent. And it didn't matter. Like, I just had to sit there at one point, just look around. Nobody left their seats. And I just want to give it a quick context. I brought my son, and he always loved playing the wiffle ball game in the back. I get back there's two kids in line. I was like, were they closing this? The guy's like, no. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, everybody's in their seats. This is like half hour before the game. I was like, I looked, they were. Yeah. This is what this playoff baseball, they can say what they want on TV, and they're right. There's home field advantage, and there's Philadelphia. That's what they said last night. It's true. Not only do they never leave their seats, they stand up the entire game. This is like an SEC football crowd. It's and you might you know it too, but I just was I'm amazed by it. Put it that way.
No, it's unreal. Like I said, like when I went last year, like it had the vibe because it very rarely do you get to that point. Now I didn't go to any of the games in the 07 to 11 run where they were going to all.
Yeah.
But to be able to, like, it really felt like a true Eagles game last year in the World Series. I mean, and this was a wild card game that you went to. And it just seemed, I think what happened is last year, everybody bought in. This year, everybody believes.
I think that's a good way to put it. That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you had to buy in last year after the miracle in St. Louis, right? But you weren't like,
you still like,
and it took a while to get a home game.
Yeah.
Then they weren't home till the fifth game of the playoffs last year. So yeah, this year you at least knew you were getting that home game. So you're right that the belief was there a little earlier for sure.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, and as I was saying last week, as long as it took to get through the season this year, again, we started bad and came back around. As long as it took to get there, like for the people who stuck around, and I think it's safe to say we stuck around. Like I wavered a little bit at one point in early June, I would say it was, but like I was still there watching, and it pays off. It pays off. And baseball is such a hard sport to sit there and follow, but you do it. You just do it, especially when you got a team like this and what Dombrowski has put together. It's like you feel so vindicated when they do what they did the past two nights. And when you see that crowd doing what they're doing as a fan, even though like, well, you were there, I wasn't there, but I still feel vindicated. Like I just feel like everything was worth it. Living and dying by pitches was worth it. Totally.
Dude. And so now I was getting to this. So last night was total withdrawal for me. I missed it. I miss being down
Oh, I
there with the
bet.
energy. I was like, now it's still great watching home, and everybody will say watching on a good TV is worth the price, and it is. Don't get me wrong. I just had withdrawal from the energy and the experience, and that's what that place gives you.
So I don't know if you've seen it, but they did they took like any of the commentators out of the Bryson Stott Grand Slam, and they just did the sounds of Citizens Bank Park. Like, no, like you hear the bell go off when he's going around third. And I mean, I'm telling you, like I said to my friends today in a text message, because somebody sent it, and I was just like, you believe that there were NFL stadiums that hold 65,000 people that got caught putting in fake crowd noise and got fined doing it. And the
Yep.
Phillies in a wild card baseball game are able to just pull it, or like you hear. And did you, I don't know if you saw a video of with his walk-up song, his
Yeah.
AO walking
Yeah.
up.
Going
The
nuts.
whole stadium was singing in unison.
Yeah.
And then first pitch, he smacks that. And like I got chills just talking about it. Not like I watched it earlier today. I had legit like the hairs on my arm were standing up because it's just so cool. Cause like you got 40 something thousand people singing your walk-up song. And his walk-up song, like I was thinking about, like it's something about like, you know, my head's in space or whatever and everything's a-okay. It
Yeah.
makes like that's the way I feel when Stott comes up to the plate. Like ever since the like end of last year where he just kept fouling pitches off, fouling pitches off, fouling pitches off, and he would just put a bloop single. Like that's what he makes you feel when he comes up to bat. Like, I'm gonna do something good up here. Not saying I'm gonna hit you a home run, a grand slam every time, but I'm gonna do the right thing. I'm gonna work the pitcher. I'm gonna get him to 11 pitch count and just do a bloop single opposite way. Like, in that's his walk-up song is just so fitting for it.
It is.
It like it was an amazing, like one of the best moments that like minute from his walk-up song to him coming around the, you know, bases is one of the best pieces of content that there is right now on the internet.
And I did see a lot of it, and I saw some of his interviews, and I mean, he just says he blacked out. He doesn't even remember spiking a bat. He doesn't remember what he did running around the bases. It was just, and I think he even said it might have been his first Grand Slam ever.
It was his
like
first
he's
one.
saying, even going back to like Little League or wherever. Yeah, so it's crazy. But Cease, yeah, listen, I bought in all year. I mean, and when Mark said he wavered for a second, it was like a second.
It was just like, oh man, like we're really.
I think you gave that was under 50%. Like that.
I think I said 45. I think I said 45% they make the playoffs.
And but it was such a small waiver, and then they got a little hot, and he was back in. So, but you're right. Buying in all year, it does help validate where we are today. So we've talked games, we've talked Marlins, and we've talked energy and stadium. Here's one thing a friend brought up to me today. He gave me a call. He's like, bro, I got to ask you something. He's like, am I crazy to say this is my favorite Philadelphia team all the time? And we haven't even done anything yet.
Yeah.
But the way he said he saw John Middleton coming out throwing baseballs to the crowd. Nick Castellanos come back out, staying late, signing every ball he possibly could. The camaraderie around this team, you know, Harper wearing Turner's shirt. Like, it is a fun team. And I want to agree with him, but I also said I need more. They can't be my favorite until they cement themselves. But I wanted to ask you, where does this team stack up? Because they really are buying into us. And the other thing you said, and he's right, they always thank the fans. They always say the fans gave us this. They are quick.
Well, you know, it's getting up there. Like it's you know, again, they have to do more. They went to the World Series last year. I think they've improved on this team from last year. You know, they get to the championship round and, you know, then to the World Series and they do it again. And, you know, this team is fun. It's special. Like, put it out there. I'm a big Barstool guy, so I'm watching all these different shows. There's a lot of New York guys on there. And even like Yankees fans and Mets fans, like there's one guy who's a diehard Mets fan. He's just like, you know, I got to say, Philadelphia might be the best sports city in the country. He was like, I got to say it. And he was like, I want to hate them, but he's like, they're fun. They are fun to watch. And it's true. Like and it all started by John Middleton pulling the power play and going and getting Bryce Harper. That was the beginning of it all. It made it all happen. because Bryce Harper said, look, if you're going to do this, you're going to invest this money in me. Like, we got to do it this way. And look, he went and he got his guys. Like, he was like, we got to get JT here. We got to get Trey here. We got to get Kyle here. Like, these are my guys. Like, but you know what? And some might be like, oh, that's a little presumptuous to do that. Like, it's kind of like LeBron-esque. It is in a way, but I think Bryce knew what it was that he wanted to get together. I think LeBron's just kind of like playing fantasy football and is like, oh, I want to go get this guy. I want to go get that guy. And it doesn't always work out. Like, and the thing is, they brought into these guys that are culture. It's culture, culture. This team is unlike anything. And I'm telling you, they are part of the reason why baseball is on the come up. Besides like all the rules and the things that they've changed in the clock and they've made it more enjoyable to watch. Trust me, as much as everybody wants to shit on Philly, they are making baseball fun again. If there's a, make baseball fun again hat, I'm wearing it because the Phillies are wearing it. It's red. You put a P on it. It's great because, I mean, the chemistry on this team is unlike most. It's amazing.
I asked this. Growing up, I can say with kind of just a full heart, the 93 Phillies team was my favorite team. I mean, sure. in that span, 83 Sixers, 86ers were a little bit before my time, would have loved it. And then the Eagles, I did love the Reggie White era, but they never could win a playoff game. And Gang Green, as much as and the Ultimate Weapon and Cunningham, loved them, but when 93 came around and they did those things, Danny Jackson tears off his shirt, and they're just a bunch of beer drinking, out of shape, just loving baseball. So, but they didn't win it all. But they still rank up there now. I mean, I'm probably going to have to go 08 Phillies and 18 Eagles, 17, if you want to call it that, ahead of them now. But let me ask, that's why I get to this point. How much would it take for these Phillies? How far do they have to get to put themselves in that top three pantheon? We'll keep the 08, the 17 Eagles there.
Yeah. I mean, they win a World Series. It's a lock.
They might be above all them. I agree.
Right.
They get to the World Series and lose. Do they escalate themselves up into a top?
Yeah, they have to. I mean, you think about it, 93, they lost. And the thing is, 93 was a flash in the pan, right?
Yep.
They did it 1 year. That was it. I think that then they go back in 94, but it was not.
No, it's strike. 94 was a strike year. And they were like, they were about 500 when the strike hit, but the Expos were well out in front. And here's the key to the 94 year. No wild cards. You had to win your division. Yeah. When the Phillies won in 93, the Giants lost to the Braves with like 102 wins.
That's I know. That was a different time when it was you only had 4 teams.
Yep. One series to get to the World Series. Yep.
But I think if they lose, if they were to get to the World Series and lose, I mean, you did it back-to-back years at least. You put yourself in that position. You earn it going to the championship stage back-to-back years, being this team, and like that, they've only improved.
I think if they win, they will end up as 1 or 2. They'll end up a little bit more lovable than the 08 Phillies, but they'll still have to go with that 17, 18 Eagles that won.
Yeah.
And
I think it's also recency bias that puts them above them. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that is part of it. Because we did look at that Phillies team, but that was the thing about that team is they were homegrown. They were a lot of draft picks, a lot of, the difference here is they had to go out and buy everybody. We do have that. We do have an infusion of some. Don't get me wrong.
Rojas,
right?
Stott, Nola. But no, I hear like it is more free agents than that team. Right. But with that team, like their spokespersons were Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, and Jimmy Rollins, who were Jimmy could speak out a little bit, but the other two were more to themselves. This team, anybody will come talk to you and tell you about it.
Well, that's why I think and that's another part of the reason why I think that they surpass the 08 team, especially if they win. If they win, they surpass the 08 team because they are that personality. Like everybody,
Yeah,
1
that's
through
what I
9.
think.
1 through
Yep.
9 is a personality.
Even like Cole Hamels was now Wheeler and Nola don't go crazy either, so I can't. But did McLaurin? No, he dropped it. But hey, so that's the good stuff. I know you're waiting for it, Cease, and I got you. And we're getting right into it in a second. I just wanted to recap what was going on down there because it's just such a fun team, fun season. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Obviously you need the horse to pull the cart. So let's get into it. It's Atlanta Braves. It's a big series. It's the biggest one of the weekend, of the divisional round, I'll call it. One that could easily last into the next week. But there's just so much here. But the Braves finished 14 games ahead of the Phillies. They beat the Phillies 8-5 in the season series. None of that matters.
No.
I think if there's one team the Braves did not want to face, it's the Phillies, and they know it. It's a team that matches up with them with power, matches up with them with two front end pitchers, and even has a better bullpen. I mean, on paper, the biggest advantage the Braves had, and it's not big, is they hit more homers. But the Phillies tied them in homers over the past 2 months of the season. So, I mean, the Braves are a historic offense. They're great, and I give them all the credit in the world. But I do know one thing. We're 2-0 against them in playoffs. 93, we beat them. Last year, we beat them. And we have that momentum rolling in here. And momentum is the biggest factor. I'm telling you right now, there's two big factors to me. Momentum and motivation. Two M's. Yeah. I'll tell you why I say motivation. The Atlanta Braves won the NL East here in Philadelphia and flapped their wings running around the stadium, yelling at fans, Acuna, Ozuna, and acted like pure jabronis. That is going to be played the entire ride down to Atlanta. That's going to be played again and again in the locker rooms. You don't need much more motivation to try and beat them. But when they did it here this year, it's like when we won in Houston, but it was a silent win. I'm sure Houston didn't want that to happen again and use that as a little bit of motivation. We're going to do it the same. We have momentum. We have motivation. Those are two big factors with two even teams.
Absolutely. So I think they, like you said, they really messed up. That last series, I mean, Wheeler was even pissed off about Acuna showing him up. They definitely don't forget the way that things went down. Mm-hmm. They don't, and they're going to make that happen. But you were talking about how they've been around the same in home runs since August. They've pretty much been playing at the same clip since like June in regards to like the Phillies were on pace to be a 100 win team from like June on. They just had a really bad beginning of the season. And you think about like, I look at it at the way that the Marlins series was like the Phillies lost or were 6-7 against the Marlins. But that was when Trey was not on. Harper, like most of those games I think all of those games took place before the standing ovation, if I'm not mistaken. Got a totally different team when Trey becomes that guy. So, this is they're on par with the Braves. Like we can throw the regular season out the window now. That 100 wins means nothing to me. It means nothing to me because it didn't mean anything to us last year. They did the same thing last year. And the Mets won 100 games last year. It didn't matter. It meant nothing. So the way that I look at it, it's an even playing field. And, a month ago, I would have said like, oh, it's going to be a really tough series for us to be able to go out and take care of business. Now I'm like, you know what? I might even expect this team to win. Expect this team to win. That's the big word.
That's a good word. A good choice of words. Yeah. You expect. And they've given us every reason to expect based upon, I'll call it their fortitude, but also their just ability to be able to come back from anything. And what I mean by that, they lost 3 of 4 to the Braves about 3 weeks ago. In every single game, they came back. Now, they blew 2 of them in the 10th inning. If you remember, Harper hit one off their closer, and somehow we blew it in the next inning. Like every time we were down, we came back against this team.
Yep.
And they know it. And that kind of fortitude and that ability to bounce back. And they won 1 game. And then they go to Atlanta and win 2 out of 3 to end the season, kind of just nod over at them like, yep, we'll see you. And we'll see you soon. And I don't think for one, this team right here in Philadelphia is scared of that team down there. Now, do we respect? No doubt about it. Like again, they are a special team. I'm taking nothing away from them. But I'm going to give you my prediction now. Listen, motivation, momentum. The Phillies have it. The Braves had to do simulation games in Atlanta this week, invite fans down there to go in and try and, give them some noise and get ready because they thought that might be part of the factor that slowed them down last year. I'm hearing Jeff Francoeur was on the radio earlier today. He'll be calling the game for TBS saying, Strider's oblique was the reason, he was bad. Well, guess what? It didn't matter. Strider pitched game 3. It was over by then. But, there's some other things going on that they're just making excuses. Well, what are the excuses going to be this year? I'm hearing them say, oh, well, if you're the number one seed.
As a blister.
Yeah, well, that, and if you're the number one seed, you should reseed like every other playoff. Well, I mean, when you were number 2 last year and you got the worst seed in the Phillies, were you asking for reseed then? There's always a little something. And when you're already starting to think those things in the back of your mind, all it takes is one. And what I mean by that is one win in Atlanta. They get one win over these next 2 games. My opinion, I actually start Christopher Sanchez. We'll see. Like you said, I think it might be Ranger, maybe mix in Taiwan if you need him, and Sanchez is there as a relief valve. But in the end, I think Phillies get this thing done, and I think they get it done in 4. I know it's really, really broad thinking to think this will happen that way, but I tell you what, they've given me no other reason to doubt them, and these fans have given me no other reason to believe if it gets back here 1-1 that they'll finish the deal here. So give me the Phillies in 4.
Yeah, I'm of the similar elk. I will say that I believe there is a split awaiting in Atlanta. It's going to be hard to go down there and take 2. Is it possible? Yeah. Would that be amazing? Yeah. I mean, it's obviously it's way over if they split. Atlanta is not taking, the next 2. The Phillies are in for a game there. It's funny, you talk about Spencer Strider and you talk about the fact that they had their, simulated game. I mean, in Atlanta, they don't have 65,000 fans who care.
Yeah.
Or 45,000 fans who care. So I don't know how a simulated game is going to work in that realm. But, it's funny. I think this happened 3 weeks ago. I think they were in Miami and somebody wanted to kind of, I don't know if it was a Marlins fan or a Braves fan or what it was, but they had the opportunity to interview Spencer Strider. And they asked him, do you prefer, a lot of people in the ballpark or not? And he's like, no. He's like, I don't see why there's a need for fans here. And he's like, if anything, they could be in the upper bowl. That's fine. It's like, yeah, you just gave, if he has to make a start in Philadelphia,
which would be game 4. If
he will get lit up beyond belief. Because they will be even louder than you could imagine. What you think is loud, multiply that by 15 because that's what they will do because they know you just gave them, you just showed your weakness and the Philly fans will eat you up. With that being said, this is going to kill me because the time and the alignment of things just haven't worked out right. I'm getting married next Saturday, and I think this is going to 5. I think the Phillies 5, but game 5 is on my wedding day.
Yep,
and it's killing me. And my friends are asking me about it. I'm like, it's planning. I couldn't call for this. I mean, it'll be amazing, but I know all the guys will be on their phones throughout. It's gonna kill me. I'm gonna try and get to see it as much as I can. It's gonna be tough. And then I go to Greece a couple days later. I'm gonna miss the whole championship series unless it goes to a game 7 if they were to move on. So I mean, it's tough cookies for me right now. But you know what? I'll be rooting. Hopefully, I can see it in Greece. That's the thing. Going out of the country, you're kind of it's scary, but I'll make it through some way, somehow. But I think the Phillies take care of business in 5.
Wow. So awesome. And yeah, obviously, congrats. That's coming up soon. And I tell you what, it can go down. If it gets to 5, you're just going to have one of the most epic anniversaries every year talking about this.
It really could be. Yeah.
but if they lose, it sucks too. But either way,
I'll be hammered. So
yeah, let's get it done in 4, and let's figure out from there. And Cease is sending out his congrats to you. So
thank you,
yeah,
thank you very
as
much.
we all do. Going to be good times. Where's the venue again?
Marion.
Nice. What's that? Route 30 up there, right?
130 instead of
130. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No.
Huh?
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those catch-22s. I mean, it's obviously, going to be an amazing day, but if they're playing a game 5, the sports fan in me is going to be gripping on.
That's the one on 130, you said?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a big venue down there on 30 on the way to Berlin. I was thinking.
I think the Luton's Manor.
Maybe yeah, that's it. That's why I always get them confused.
That's the one. Yep. I think they're owned. I think they have similar ownership or something like that. They're very similar to each other.
Yeah. So the one on 130, I guess that's technically is that Cherry Hill technically there? What is that?
No, it's Cinnaminson.
It's Cinnaminson? Okay. Yeah, I know it just weaves through. I know it's just past the park there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, either way, we got a lot to talk about, and it's going to be fun. So Phillies for the sweep. Let's go over the other remaining series real fast here just because they're intriguing, and we'll do rapid fire. Orioles, Rangers. Who you got?
Oh, who do I got? I think I got the Orioles. The Rangers really put a hurting on Tampa Bay, but this Orioles team, they've got something special. I think they're kind of Phillies of the AL. So,
yeah, I take experience is a big key into a lot of these things. The Rangers don't have that much experience either. And of course, and that's about it. So there's not a big advantage on either way, except for the momentum fact that the Rangers just gained from sweeping the Rays. And I get nervous here. That line just it scares the heck out of me. It tells me Rangers. I mean, the Orioles had the second most wins in all of baseball, yet they're barely a favorite. Like, it's pretty much pick 'em. I'm going to go Rangers. I want the Orioles. Don't get me wrong. I want the Orioles. Bruce Bochy is a pretty good advantage, too, on the Ranger side. All right, other AL, Houston Twins.
I mean, I think that's Houston all day.
I do, but I'm going to say this much. The Twins.
Yeah, I know momentum has been the key word of the night for you, so obviously.
It has, but also the Twins beat them in the regular season, and the Twins have a frontline staff, and they hit a lot of homers. These Astros aren't quite as good as they were last year. Listen, they're 90-72, the same record as the Phillies. They're good. I'll take Astros, but I think it's closer than a lot of people think. I think it could get to 5. All right, the other series in the NL, Dodgers, D-backs.
Yeah, I think Dodgers take care of business here. I agree with you. They really don't have much when it comes to pitching. I just think they just have more experience, and I think they'll be able to get through to the championship series. But I really don't think they're that good of a team.
Yeah, I think that the problem, and you spoke about depth of pitching, I think it's going to hurt Arizona even more. Gallen just had to go in game 2. So they're number 1. So they get Kelly going in game 1, but Gallen doesn't. I don't think he can go until game 3. So then you're really like piecing this thing together with Brandon Pfaadt. And so I just think it's unfortunately, I watched the Dodgers beat up Arizona at the end of the year, and I can't get it out of my mind. I'm with you, Dodgers. So it would, in our scenario, I'd go Philly, Dodgers. You'd go Houston, Baltimore, and that's tremendous. And then I would say Houston, Texas, which is also a battle of the Lone Star States.
I mean,
we're going to look at some great baseball regardless of who the outcomes are. But we'll end on this topic. You say Ranger in game 1. I say Sanchez. Any shot with Taiwan. This is my preference. Let me take it away. Was Ranger your preference, or that's just what you think?
It's what I think. Now, here's the thing. Honestly, I would kind of consider Taiwan. I know he hasn't been great, but he's a gritty guy. Give him a short leash, and you see what he can do. You can see if he can find some of that Taiwan Walker spark.
And here's what people have also said. The Braves mashed lefties. So
Right.
you got this theory of if you could kind of throw him off with another righty in the mix, it's a tough decision anyway you go. It is.
Yeah, like right, because Sanchez is no experience whatsoever. Ranger is recent experience. Taiwan is a longer career, longer in the tooth type of guy. That's kind of what you're looking at, but not a plethora of the postseason experience as you would even say Ranger has at this point. Whether I don't know exactly. I mean, I know he's played for the Mets and he did some pitching for them last year, and I don't know how often he's been in the postseason, but just Rangers coming off of it, he just was there
Yep.
last year. So that like they all have their ups and their downs.
Yep. No, they do. So
I don't think you can go wrong any of the ways.
all right, on the spot, let me give you. Who would you, Mark, if you're a topper? Who would you throw?
Suarez, Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my call of Sanchez.
Yeah.
I just like the young guy that has a little bit better stuff than the other two and probably doesn't. These young guys just don't know the enormity of the situation sometimes. But again, I'm fine with whatever Topper picks because he did push all the right buttons in the first round. So when this bullpen is rocking and he can align it correctly, it's tough.
What I'll say, what I like about Ranger going is that he did it last year in Atlanta.
He did.
He pitched well.
Yeah. But again, many times they only give him 3 or 4 innings, and I'm okay with that if we kind of do the mix of Ranger and Sanchez for a mix of 5, 6 innings. And I'm not against Taiwan. It just, man, I could think about him for 2 innings, do the Syndergaard role. But, I'd rather probably, if you're only going to go 2 or 3 innings with him, see what you get out of Ranger or Sanchez. So, enough.
Yeah, I don't like honestly. I would like if Sanchez and Taiwan kind of pitched a combined 6, 7 innings. Like that would be awesome too. If you could make something like that work. I know Ranger hasn't been his best this year, and I hope he's coming around. But I would like to see Ranger get back to where he was last year. I mean, if that's a possibility, that's great. And then you, like I said, you kind of meld the two together, and you're.
No, yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's do it. Let's move on to some football. We've had a lot of fun with baseball right now, and I think for me, there's so much to talk about in the NFL, and especially coming off another Eagles victory. And I wanted to get into kind of the recap from last week, and what I mean by that is, I'm watching the Commanders tonight on Thursday Night Football, and they're absolutely struggling with the Chicago Bears who have lost 14 straight games, haven't won a game in almost a calendar year. And this is the same Commanders team that took us to overtime and was a shoelace, or let's call it a cleat, away from being in bounds and maybe winning the game against us in overtime. And that I said this coming out of the game this week. I said, hey, we got to win games. We got to win close games. We have to build that kind of, experience of being able to bear down and win. And threw the ball a little early in overtime. In regulation to get the points, the touchdown. Yeah. AJ, I was fine with it. You gave every chance for the defense to stop it. Now AJ's penalty probably gave them a little bit more room than we wanted, but in the end, they grinded, and Jake hits that big field goal. I call it a good win, regardless of what I'm watching tonight. We're 4-0. I got nothing to complain about. There's things to get better, things to sharpen. But I'll take a close, good win versus a division opponent any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing is, like, the fact that they came out of there with that win is huge, obviously, as you're saying. Like, sometimes teams just have what it takes against certain teams.
Yeah.
Like, the Commanders have been our kryptonite. Like, obviously, at home, the past 2 years, the Commanders have been our kryptonite. Like, we almost lost it. But, again, kind of like what you're saying, we scored the touchdown. We're up a touchdown. If AJ doesn't get that taunting penalty, you don't have a pop-up. You don't start the ball at, the 40-yard line because of a good kick return back because of a, shallow ball. Like, you probably stop them and you don't even go to overtime. And, you're looking good then. Like, right. And you win by 7. And we're not even talking about this. So that's where I think it's kind of like, look, some things happen a certain way, but really it shouldn't have. That score was closer than it actually was.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was a good win. And we could have easily lost that game too. And that's where the difference lies. I'm glad that they did what they were able to do. I would like a little more from the defense. I think there's a lot of times they were in zone. I feel like they were in zone more often than not. I don't know why Washington poses that for you. Why you feel like you need to play zone.
Yeah.
With these guys, if you do that with a Justin Jefferson, that's one thing. And they have talent, but not of that caliber.
No, but then I agree with you. But then I go back and look, and Howell ran 6 times for 40 yards. You don't run that against zone. So it was a quarterback running that it was weird. I'm getting you.
Yeah.
The big plays they let up were zone, and then when they got in the man, they didn't create enough pressure, and he runs down the field and with their backs turned. So here was the other thing, and tell me if I'm wrong. And I'm not trying to. This is another terrible call, by the way. There were 5 critical calls, all on the Eagles, all on 3rd down.
Yeah.
To bail out the Reds or Commanders early in the game. A phantom holding call on 3rd and 11 near the goal line. An absolutely brutal pass interference call down at the end zone when they incomplete. A Darius Slay pass interference. I couldn't even tell you would actually put that on tape as textbook how to defend a slant. Yet they called pass interference on it. Even the announcers were like, "What the H in the world is going on?" So
there's a bunch of factors that I think made that game closer than it actually really was.
Yeah, I think that's what I was kind of getting at there. Did McLaurin actually catch one? Wow, look at him.
Yeah, I guess you're looking at him in fantasy, aren't you?
I got him in one league. I'm just surprised when you throw 40 times that he has 2 targets before this. Like that's my what he does is what he does. I actually had the Bears +6, so I'm feeling fine right now.
Yeah.
And I had DJ Moore over his yards tonight. So I'm clean on all my bets. I would just like to see McLaurin get a couple targets, I guess. But
I'm there with you. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh, good catch. But yeah, I mean, in the end, how cool is it to just line up for a 50+ yard field goal and just know it's going in? And when it first went up, I was like, oh shit.
It went out.
Yes. Yeah. This guy, there's been talk on the radio this week. Is he better than David Akers already? And I say yes.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. Like, you look at it, like where he was at, he was a rookie. I remember they brought him in midway through training camp. They got him, I think Cincinnati cut him and the Eagles picked him up.
Yeah, I think he's Memphis. That's all I remember.
Right. No. I mean, I think he was on the Bengals.
No, yeah. I'm just saying a college.
Yeah. He was a Memphis kicker.
Yeah, no, when he kicked that 62-yarder versus the Giants in week 3 or 4.
That was the beginning of his career. Like that was what started everything that helped them get to where they were. And I think
we didn't know him. Like, you're right. He was not a guy. Like, I actually think our kicker blew out his calf or thigh right before that. And they're like, we got to roll with this kid.
Was it Sturgis? Was it Caleb Sturgis?
I think it was somebody like that. And they're like, we got to roll with this kid. And then all of a sudden,
and
history
happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was, I'm telling you, it was like kind of a storybook type of way to begin and go through. And now he's been one of the most consistent kickers in the league. And that's the thing is he's probably better from further than closer because I think sometimes it's accurate because he's got a power leg.
Yeah. And he's got time to curl it a little bit when it's a little further out. Yeah.
I mean, it definitely went outside past the goalpost and came back in 2 feet, like 2 feet on the inside of the goalpost. It's something unreal, maybe 3-4 feet.
So he was my player of the game solely because when you can win it like that from a long distance, that's not guaranteed. But 2 other guys we just got to make comments on. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. I could give you Nick Morrow as well, but let's just go on the A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. And for me, we've had a little questions at how AJ's played, and it's not. I'm not AJ. I'm sorry, Jalen's played.
Yeah,
and it hasn't been like, hey, he sucks. It's been more like, he just seems to be like not in rhythm, and maybe some of the preseason hurt, and then we found out that he was sick a little bit in Tampa. So okay, this was classic Jalen. He was fantastic. Ball on time, ball in the right spots. I mean, I think he barely missed the throw. There might have been a couple we could have taken back, but he's back. And then he's back with a vengeance with 11. And I get it. Everybody's going to point to the blow up in week 2 when Devontae was getting everything running all day. But I'm okay with it. I'm okay. I could take away some of the silly, penalties near the end. I can leave those. But if those two can keep this thing rolling, he's on pace for 1,800 yards, and then still get Devontae involved and have the running game as is. We're in really good shape on offense. It's looked good. I mean, I don't think we've scored less than 25 this year. So,
yeah, no, they've been able to, like I said, again, we're still saying it because I think you and I both predicted blowouts.
I had them by 10. Yep.
Yeah, they've been just getting by.
Except Tampa. Tampa was dominant. That was
no, for sure. Like I'm saying that like they have not been playing this type of football that they were playing last year. I completely feel that's the case, and yet they're still 4-0. Like they're still one of the best teams in the league, and we know that there's better. Like on paper, they're better, and situationally, they're better. Like it's going to come around. I think. Thing is, I think they actually are going to come around in that tough stretch of the season.
Yeah.
Like I think that's actually when we hopefully, regardless of what their record is, when they come out of that stretch, when they, but when they have that, we'll be seeing their better football. And I think it'll be the right time. So they were still winning games, not playing their best football. The only thing about Jalen, I will say, is probably the first half-ish of the game. Like he was he was good. He was very good. He's definitely been closer to the Jalen of last year. Still, there were at times when he looked slow. And he's looked slow this year, like even running. He looks like he's just like kind of like cautiously running. He's not going after it. But then
I agree.
Remember this one play, and I feel like that's kind of where the tide turned for him, especially. It was he avoided a sack. He juked left. He got the D lineman, took a couple steps forward, juked out the linebacker, went left, and then got like another like 10 yards. And it was like I was with Allie's dad, and we were watching the game. He was like, I haven't seen him run that fast this year. I said, neither. I was like, that's the first time it looked like he was the aggressor. Like the thing that I've been saying about Jalen this year is he's been waiting for the game to come to him. And I know that's sometimes the way you want it to go, but the way that he was playing last year, he was the aggressor. He was going after it. He was chucking the ball down the field. He was running hard. He was running fast. He finally showed the aggressor came back out yesterday, but it wasn't, or not yesterday, but Sunday, but it wasn't there the whole game. But I think about early or like mid-second quarter on is when you start seeing it again.
Yeah, you're right. And the only thing I'll say is this: last year, everybody said he was taking too many hits. So now this year, he goes a little cautious in the pocket. And people are like, he's not running hard. Like, it's not people. It's not you. I'm not saying that.
I was going to say I had no problem with the way he played last year because, you're going to put yourself in that situation when you're a guy like that. Like the only person who effectively was able to avoid the hits was Russell Wilson. Really, like when it came to scrambling, he always knew. And Jalen still did a pretty good job of it. He still does a good job of not taking that extra hit. Like, like Michael Vick, like he would just go and dive and get smashed between two linebackers. Like that's what he did. He didn't know how to slide, but I'm sorry.
No, I'm just to the point of, I think he heard the noise. I think Sirianni heard the noise and they told him to protect himself a little more. And obviously got hurt late in the season. They want him here for all 17. What I want, and I think you're in the same vein here, is when it's there, go and go hard. I don't need the slides in the middle of the field to, you might as well throw the ball away at that point. Like I don't need a 1 yard scramble that you're going to slide on. But when the lane's open, run hard, and when it's there, get to the sidelines. So I'm with you. I think when he gets rolling, it's very important. And the reason I say this, it's time to transition on to week 5 with the Los Angeles Rams. And last week, the Los Angeles Rams, one of my losses in my 3-packs, by the way, I took the Indianapolis Colts. We're up 23-0 and saw that evaporate very quickly in the second half, mainly because Anthony Richardson decided to run the ball and run the ball a lot. And that's where, this week it could be very interesting if Jalen Hurts decides to do the same thing, because obviously the Rams are not very good at the RPO. And if he can find a way to really, be physical and, decide when to turn it up and when to turn it down. No, he didn't score again, did he?
Wow.
Wow.
I'm not playing him in any leagues.
I don't think I am either. I had him in my
he got 3 touchdowns, 200-something yards.
Oh, he's got to be, definitely over 2 now.
I'd be sick.
It is. I have him in a lot of my DFS lineups daily, but and I'll be fine. I just didn't pair him with enough people, but I'm still in good shape. But that's a crazy night. But the point being, I'm going back and looking at this game last week because I heard someone else bring it up. I think it was Ryan Clark earlier, and he said it well that Anthony Richardson ended up with 10 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown. If we need Hurts to do that, it's there. And we know, last year we had to win a close game in Indianapolis on the road. We had to win a close game in Arizona on the road. These road games are not a given. But with that said, the one good part about this week too, when analyzing how the Eagles are going to attack this Rams defense, I think this one will act like a home game more than anything else because those Rams fans don't show up. And these Eagles fans do. There's plenty out there on a trip and having some fun and ready to take over that SoFi Stadium. So, that's going to be a factor that comes into my pick later here. But, early on when you said Hurts running, I think this could be his best running week.
Yeah, I think it's a possibility. I think this is a defense that you can do it. Once you avoid Aaron Donald, I think you're able to, and you get into that second
and that's
level.
the reason you do it.
Right.
You run away from him. Yes.
Right. You got to get a lot of rolling out of the pocket. He can't, tonight's not a night that he can sit in the pocket, or not tonight. God, I'm so thrown off. Sunday is not a day where he can sit in the pocket and let Aaron Donald come to him. He's got to be rolling out. He's got to just, I agree. It's gonna change the way that he plays. I think he does get his most yards on the ground this year in LA. It's an intriguing matchup. I think the Rams are not as bad as people thought that they were going to be. It's always, tough just to go out there on the West Coast. But like you said, it's closer to a home game than not because the Rams, it's a shame. Well, I don't know if I would say a shame. It's, they just don't have a real following there. I think you do too. I like this matchup for us. I like where the Eagles are at. The Rams are battle tested. So I think if the Eagles were to pull out a win, I think it feels good. I think it's a good win. It just stacks them up. It grows their confidence. This isn't a 0-4 roll over Rams team and die. Like they're 2-2. They've played teams tough. They still got a lot of talent, and they looks like they're getting Cooper Kupp back. It's not.
Yeah, I think they will.
But I think they will. But I think a lot of things are still in the Eagles' favor when it comes to this game. I still like them on both sides of the ball. I think this could be a confidence builder. I think it kind of could be like a little better version of Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think it could be, but if it got a better version, they're going to completely dominate, which is possible because Stafford is a statue in the pocket. So,
and he's all hurt right now too.
Yeah, he can get the ball out quick. That's the only thing. They're just going to have to. Yeah. They're going to have to be a little different in the way they attack because, like you said, last week looks like zone, but I saw they were just very
they're all over the place.
Like the freaking Bills shut this team down, 5 turnovers, 3 points. Come back tonight. And really, for the most part, they had 3 points a half. They put in some garbage in the second half, but how the hell did they score 31 against us? So it's got to be like what you said. It's just one of those matchups that gets a little tricky. So with that, I'll lead off with the picks for this week. Run into the last 10 minutes of the show here. We've looked at this long term. We've looked at this with a bigger focal point than just 1 week at a time. And going as we progress in the season, there are going to be hurdles. There are going to be tripping spots, speed bumps. This isn't one of them. It was always meant to be 6-0. And I still believe it's still going to be meant to be 6-0 because 6 is even easier seeing that Zach Wilson's on the plate instead of Aaron Rodgers. But without looking ahead too far, this was the part of the schedule, my point being, that you had to really take advantage of and dominate because the 11 weeks after this are all going to be tough, no matter who you play. So I take them this week. I think they're better than the Rams. Rams, playing, I thought they'd be a little better than people thought, but I didn't know if they'd be this much better. I think they're a team who absolutely has caught your attention now.
Yeah.
But Eagles Nation will take that place over. And I could see a situation that's like Tampa when we really get this thing rolling and beat them bad. But then I think it's still just kind of one of those we throw punches, we score. They might have a few back at us because our pass D has been a little weak this year. I'll take the Eagles 28-20 over the Rams.
Okay. Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. Like I said, I think this could be a similar version of Tampa. I think even a late touchdown. I think it could get a little weird scoring. I like the Eagles here. I like them 31-15.
Nice. We're not far off, but you got a couple more for her and then a couple less for them. But big dominant win. That'll be good for you. Getting ready for the wedding next week. And hey, 5-0 is 5-0 any way you count it. So take the birds this week. We've both gotten with the points near the number as well on the total. But here we go. Let's get into our 3-packs here because, Mark, I need you to celebrate a little bit. Big week for the Thomas gang.
I kind of called this last week. I started the season 0-3 and then went I took a step up each week. 0-3, week 2, 1-2, week 3, 2-1, and week 4, 3-0. I am back. I finally have the eye of the landscape. I was able to view what was out there for us. Like I said, now I will tell you this. I will give this a little, the Chiefs, 3-point win over the Jets was a little fluky. They really could have scored a touchdown, but they didn't because, they didn't want to play selfish ball. They didn't want to give the Jets the ball back with any time left, which is the smart thing to do. So it held my end of the bet for that 9.5-point line at the time that I made that pick, with the Jets, falling within that 9.5. But I'm feeling good. I feel like I have an eye for the league now, and I'm ready to go 3-0 again this week. Knock on wood, because it probably won't happen. But with that being said, I will start off.
Please do.
I took a look, and this stuck out to me big time. And this is a team that I rolled with a lot last year, and I'm going to continue to do it again. The Jacksonville Jaguars are at the Buffalo Bills, even though they are overseas. They will be in the London game. It's a 9:30 game. I think the Bills are hitting their stride. They had a really poor performance against a weak Jets D. Josh Allen was very careless with the ball, and I think ever since then and all he has to do is just be careful with the ball. 5.5 points, less than a touchdown over the Jags. I think the Bills are more than capable of doing this. Jags just had and they've been out there in London. A good win against Atlanta, but it's Atlanta, and I think Atlanta is a little on the fraudulent side. So the Bills minus 5.5, I'll take that all day, every day.
All right, but I mean, that one gets me scared a little bit because of what you said at the end. Jags were already out there. They know how to play over there. They don't have that travel, but I'm not touching the game. So for that point, go Bills for you. With that, but I will touch something I got my eye on that's similar to that. So you led me one way, and as much as I don't know, I am absolutely in and buying in on the Houston Texans right now. I get scared that they're kind of in that public betting mode. I get scared that everybody's hyped on CJ Stroud, but I do know this: Desmond Ridder is bad. I mean, he is bad, and he's as bad as I thought he'd be. He's too cautious. He is not confident in his throws and his reads, and he looked terrible last week against the Jaguars D that got shredded by C.J. Stroud, by the way. So give me the Texans this week. The big thing about why I'm tying this all in now, the travel back here. A lot of times they send people out to London and give them a bye week the next week. Right. They didn't give Atlanta a bye week. They had to travel out there, and it's just they had to adjust, and then they have to come back here and they have to adjust back. I think it's a tricky spot for them. Take the Houston Texans. It will be a third upset in a row, but I'll take them.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I did the same thing. Texans +1.5 at Atlanta. I feel the same way. That's rough coming back from London without a bye week. And I think, what we're seeing from CJ Stroud, I think it's weird. He was they took him second, right? Yeah. And then I think they took Will Anderson third. I just wanted to make sure I had that correct.
Yeah.
But CJ Stroud is just being efficient with the ball. Like, he's obviously got good numbers. He's not throwing lights out, but he's throwing pretty well.
No picks.
What?
No interceptions.
No picks. That's exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's being efficient. Him and Nico Collins have a good thing going. Tank Dell.
Yep.
Bobby Trees. They're. You saw what I did there. He's been doing. They've been doing pretty well. I like what they have going. They have become a betting favorite. Just because of the spot that they're in, but I really like this for them. I think this is, you could say like, oh, the Falcons, maybe you'll have some juju coming home. Like you said, Desmond Ridder stinks. I don't think they can do much. I think they really are just like kind of relying on Bijan Robinson, but not really, because there's only so much that they can do with that. I like the Texans here.
All right.
So we share.
Good. I like sharing because I was 0-3 last week. So I'll share with someone that's been striking hot. So for my next pick, and then I'll give Mark his third, I'm going to go to an AFC North battle. The Pittsburgh Steelers look absolutely rotten. And, the fact of the matter is Kenny Pickett ain't that guy. And I think, at least I knew that. Not a lot of people did because, he threw for a lot in the preseason, and they thought throwing against second-team defenses made someone qualified to be a good quarterback in this league. But the fact of the matter is he's not. Now, with all that said, the Ravens have had to play the Bengals already. They've had to play the Browns. Now they're playing the Steelers. I think this is a good spot for the Steelers. And it's also a good spot because Tomlin is so good off a loss. And nobody in their right mind is feeling good about the Steelers right now, and that's when Vegas gets them. Give me the Steelers to cover this line, and I'll tell you, I think they even win outright. But I'm not going money line. I'm going Steelers plus the 4.
Is that game in Pittsburgh, or is that?
It's in Pittsburgh. Yep, it's in Pittsburgh.
So Ravens at Steelers plus 4.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, like you said, the points that you made, it's a good spot for them to be in. Take advantage of a Ravens team that kind of has been pushed. We'll see. But the Steelers have been quite disappointing, even though winning the season, though winning the preseason meant everything.
But even the Ravens had to squeeze one out in Cincinnati. They lost to the Colts. Like they're 3-1, but they're a little shaky 3-1.
Sure. So for my final game, I don't like doing this, but I gotta go. I have to touch the game that has the two other good teams in the NFC. Talking.
Oh, I might go there too.
Dallas Cowboys at the San Francisco 49ers. I see the line at 3.5. Cowboys just trounced the New England Patriots. They put them to shame. The 49ers are undefeated, and they've just been taking care of business left and right. The 49ers have ousted the Cowboys in the playoffs the past 2 years. Cowboys have revenge on their mind. Sunday night game, they want to make something of something, right? But there's the hook, that 3.5 point, or the half-point hook. I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys here at 3.5. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think that defense is going to play hard. I think they're going to ball out. In the end, I really think it's the hook that leads me with the Cowboys. Anything less, I would take the Niners here. but I like Dallas in this spot, losing by 3.
I tell
And
you,
so 3.5.
just because I don't want the listeners and the viewers to kind of like us only give out a few games. I'm all in on the Cowboys too. I think it's a great spot for them. I think if there's anything, they're motivated. And I think they've been knocked out by the. No, I don't think. I know they've been knocked out by the Niners the past 2 seasons. I like your pick. I think the Hooks in play, no doubt about it. And I think even outright potentially in play. But I'm not going to pick that game. I'm going to congratulate you when you win it. I'm going to bet it. But for to end my 3 packs, I'll go to the must-see game of the week. And as much as it's Cowboys, Niners, and I get it, it's Sean Payton, Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, all this dirty talk in the off season, all this mouth by this, I want to call him so many bad names like a drunk and a cheater, which he is both. But I'll just be nice today. Sean Payton, you just opened up a can of worms. And, it's not like Nathaniel Hackett can fight back. But guess who can? The New York Jets. And they showed a little life last week. And the Denver Broncos, while they came back against the Chicago Bears, are still listless to me. I watched a lot of Marshawn Lynch's interviews in Club Shay Shay this week. It's damning the way he talks about Russell Wilson and his inability to lead teams and be such a terrible teammate. And it's showing in Denver. I want to say he's 0-6. It could be 0-8. Whatever number it is, it's right around there. ATS as a favorite with the Denver Broncos. Their favorite this week. Look, I really think this team's going to rally. I think the Jets are going to step up. Give me the Jets plus 1.5 against the Broncos.
Plus 1.5. Yeah, that Jets defense is something to be reckoned with. It's like, I know you're not a big Rodgers fan, but it really would have been cool just to see what this Jets team.
It's true. He would have been fine.
They have so much talent, and it's really interesting to see what they could have done. But and he thinks he's coming back. I don't know, but
he's not. There's a reason he's not coming back. They're going to be 4-10 by the time he's ready. Like, this thing's over, Johnny.
That's true.
Like, and my point in the Jets
before they are down to 7 games.
And I'll just tell you this real fast. Me and you probably have the same opinion about Carson Wentz. He'd still be 3 times better than Zach Wilson. Like, to go out and go Trevor Siemian, even Matt Ryan, which I wouldn't, because I don't think that fits the way that team blocks. But I think Carson Wentz would have fit it. And I think you could have found, maybe even traded for some of these quarterbacks that are sitting on the bench. But to continue to stick with Zach Wilson, I think is going to be what kind of puts them in the grave eventually, and doesn't give Rodgers the time to get back.
No. Yeah, you're right, because they need another month or 2, and I don't know if Wilson gets them that month or 2.
No.
Trevor Siemian sure doesn't.
Not with these schedules. Like, the Jets had one of the tougher schedules coming into the league anyway.
Yeah.
Into the season, I should say. All right, well, that wraps up our 3 packs. Mark, we got about a minute or 2 left here. Not to drag it on too much more, we do want to touch 2 quick things. Philadelphia Flyers have obviously started their preseason. Another solid victory tonight. I think last time I checked, it was 5-2 against the Islanders. I know they beat the Bruins the other night. And what I just like what I've seen so far about the Flyers, and it's just been, casual, because there's no reason to really trust the preseason. They're 3-2-1, is that it just seems like Tortorella's been able to get his guys. And that's all that matters, right? Like, now he can coach his guys. He's been able to get rid of DeAngelis. He's been able to just and the fact that you got Briere, you got Jones, you got a lot of Flyers blood in the way of bringing in what would fit his system. I think I'm going to be pleasantly surprised with this team this year. So that I just wanted to point that out. I think, as the preseason goes, wins, losses, they don't really matter. What matters is that they're getting these repetitions with their line mates and really getting to get Tortorella's system in place.
A lot of young bloods.
Yes.
We'll see what they can do as a team. The expectations are not high on my end, obviously, but they're building. They've made it the case. So, any optimism is fine. We'll see what happens. tune into some games and see, what they got going on. But, you take it with a grain of salt and you just hope that they build towards something great in, a year or two.
Yeah, I mean, Kate scores, Tippett scores. You get one out of Connect, need a couple assists out of Frost. I mean, this team's just going to be a young team that just needs to grow quickly in front of our eyes. But even if so, I mean, if they don't, I should say, I do think they are at least going to be advancing towards where they need to be. But let's talk about what might not be advancing. That's real quick. The Philadelphia 76. I don't care that James Harden showed up and shot threes with this team today and then walked out and didn't do much more. And then Tobias and Joel are sitting there protecting him, saying everything looked fine and he's here to work. He's not. We've seen it with the Rockets. We've seen it with the Nets. You try and get this guy going in the regular season with this team, it's a ticking time bomb. Stop. And Nick Nurse, you're killing Nick Nurse's potential to coach this team by having someone so selfish and so potentially harmful to the team. I don't care at this point what we get. I can build around Maxey and Embiid, Harris, Springer, even bringing Oubre helps a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't want him on this roster on October 23rd. I want him gone, and Daryl Morey's not going to make it happen. It gets me so mad. And that's why I'll take Flyers optimism right now over this team. And I feel awful for Embiid. And Morey is killing this team.
I think something gets done.
I hope so, man.
I think something gets done. I don't see. The thing is, the difference between the situation that was before is Harden was waiting and Harden was saying, come get me. There's not that situation. I think Morey knows it's going to be bad for him if he wastes this year for Joel, and if he wastes this first half of the season. So I think there's the possibility that they are able to make something happen. It seems like there's different articles coming out and there's a lot of talk about it. And I think, he looks like he's in good shape. And I'm not saying that's even about this season for us, but I think he showed up because one, he doesn't want to get fined, but two, I think that he's like, if I show up, maybe it actually helps the Sixers. Maybe if I didn't run my mouth, it would have helped the Sixers. Maybe if I didn't, and it's all revisionist history. If last year, if I didn't have my cronies putting out, on Christmas Day that, Houston wants me type of stuff, and you got Imo Udoka. You can look at this, I guess, a couple different ways, coming out and saying, like, I like him, I have a respect for him, but I just think that it's a young team and we just want to build a young team. Somebody's trying to put out a good word for it. I think everyone's trying to do damage control, and that's why I think something gets done at some point.
I hope you're right. Now, one of the coolest things coming out of training camp so far, I call it training camp, but they're out in Colorado State. Yeah. They got to hang out with Dion. Cool. But right, Daniel House came out today and said, I think it was Daniel House. He's still there, right? Yeah. He said, listen, this offense right now is one of the, like, really coolest things that I've been through in a while. Like, this is about a free-flowing, not just static pick and roll up top, 20 seconds wasted with dribbles. Like, we're all moving, and we're all, in any chance with the cuts and the screens that we're making, anybody has a chance to get the ball and shoot it. And there has been nothing but absolute praise out of the Nick Nurse system so far. And I know you're there. I'm pretty sure you are, but I was a big Nick Nurse fan. I hated him when he was the opponent just because he whined a little.
Yeah, no, of course.
I always respected the way he was able to just make teams in Toronto, play to their ultimate potential. And I think hearing that out of Philly here, I don't need – and people say they ran the pick and roll perfection. My ass, dude couldn't finish at the rim, Harden. Like, all you had to do is – there were no alley-oops. There was not – like, they ran it good, but that's because Embiid is great.
Yeah.
Get these other guys involved. We need to be more dynamic. And hearing that, I thought was awesome.
Yeah. I think things are on the horizon for what they can be. And I also think that's a reason why they move on from Harden, because Harden doesn't fit into this.
No.
His game is the antithesis of Nick Nurse's system.
Oh, he'll do it out of spite. He'll come up and dribble for 20 seconds just to show up the coach.
Yeah. Well, and then I think Nick Nurse will pull him out, and then he'll, huff and puff, and too bad.
Yeah. Well, there were stories that Rivers wanted to pull him out.
Yeah.
He just didn't do it. All right, Mark, that wraps it up for this session episode. Great talking points on Philly sports here with the 4-for-4 motto logo going on as we touch them all, rounding the bases just like Bryson Stott did the other night. But with that, we got the Red October. It's here. It's real. It's great. We got the Eagles. How perfectly was it that it's Philly Saturday, Eagles Sunday, Phillies Monday? Just the ultimate, and then it's holiday for me on Monday, even better. Holiday for you too. I know government workers. It helps out.
Government workers. Yeah.
I can't wait, man. I hope you feel the same. You got anything else before we get out of here?
No, just we're ready to rock and roll. Like this is a great time, and we really gotta cherish what we have going with these two teams right now. Really, like when you look at the Sixers and the Flyers situations, it makes you embrace what we have even more. I mean, we've both been diehards, especially like with these two teams. You and I think I can say that safely for both of us. Like we cherish what is going on right now, without a doubt.
There's nothing like it. I grew up in an era when nobody could make the playoffs, and now we have two teams that are special. I can't wait to ride this special ride, and hopefully one of them can bring home the title, if not both. So with that, we'll be tuned in. Phillies Braves. That's a tip-off 6:07 first pitch on Saturday. We'll be locked in for sure. Be on social media, be everywhere. And until next week, and maybe even further, we're here as your Philly voice of the fan, 4-for-4, and so much more. I'm Dave. That's Mark. Heat Ratio Sportsnet. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 71 rocked.